In the age of AI, a man is driven by a single desire: to model in Blender and ZBrush as if it were the distant year of 2005. They tried to hold him back, they tried to stop him, but no one knew his greatest secret. He was Cuban. This winter, Horncave will inspire you and make you cry. Blender modeling exercise with PolyCave, only on YouTube.
Narrator, are you finished yet?
Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Good day, 3D artist. Today I have a problem. A few months ago, I finished an action figure for my personal channel, but it was designed to be printed using a system that doesn't require cuts or supports. However, this technology is currently very expensive. Therefore, we're going to adapt our model so that it can be printed in resin or filament. We'll solve this problem in 3 different ways. Depending on the time you can dedicate to it and the complexity of your project, we can choose which of these 3 alternatives to use. We'll do this exercise in Blender, but you can do it in any program that has Boolean tools. The concept will be the same for all of them, so once you master the theory, you can replicate it in any other program. Don't worry, it's very easy. First, we'll import the figure and adjust its scale based on real-world measurements. In my case, I designed this figure to be 15 centimeters tall. So, let's adjust these values and start with the first option. With PolyCave, I've set up a shortcut to adjust sculpture heights more easily. So, in the Mesh Tools section, let's go to the scale settings and enter the required height in millimeters. Alright, our first exercise will be creating planes and placing them on the arms and legs. This way, we will mark exactly where we'll divide our model. By sectioning our figure, we manage to reduce printing times, if using resin, and avoid excessive use of supports, if using filament. We will also avoid spending too much time on post-processing, as we won't have to sand down the bumps left by supports. We can place the cutting lines wherever we want. In my case, I'm going to use the seams between the fabric and my character's skin. But you can really place them wherever you like, as long as they aren't too obvious. Because the main idea here is to make the cuts in the least visible places. If you're struggling with the placement of the cutting plane, remember that you can use a circular shape or another more organic shape that suits your model. But don't worry, because throughout this video, I'll show you a way to solve this problem. With our cutting planes ready, we can see how the project is coming along. Remember to correctly align the normals of our cutting planes so that they can all be extruded in the same direction. It's not strictly necessary, but it can prevent several problems when generating volume for our cutting planes. Another important point is to collapse our mesh. In these types of exercises, where we use the scaling tool extensively, it's common to encounter visual measurement errors since each element has a different internal scale. Therefore, it's essential to collapse our mesh so that the scale normalizes with the space we're working in. You can solve this problem by selecting the cutting planes and clicking the Reset X-Form button located in the Mesh Tools tab. We are going to fuse all our planes, and by extruding or using the Solidify modifier, we'll give them volume to collide the cuts with the figure. We'll give them a thickness of 0.1 millimeters. Very important note. Remember to always use millimeters as your unit of measurement when working with models for printing. Now we will apply the Boolean modifier to the base model and use the cutting planes to separate it. With these simple changes, our action figure is ready. We apply the modifications to our Boolean and delete the extruded cutting planes. This way, our model will be separated into parts. We'll separate it into independent models and export each one in STL format to later place them on the print bed. You might see the cuts as being very aggressive, but remember we are using a thickness of 0.1 millimeters for the cuts. At real scale, this is practically invisible. Now let's analyze this method. As you can see, it is very simple, but it has one small drawback. When it comes to assembling our figure, we won't have a guide to align it correctly. so we must be very careful during this step. We saved a lot of time by making the cuts, but I don't think it's quite worth it for this specific project. The solution to this is creating joins, and that is exactly what we will do in our second exercise. To create the keys in our pieces, we will simply add positive and negative shapes to our cutting planes. We'll start just like in the previous lesson. Create a plane, apply an inset, and then extrude. It is recommended to scale the top of the key to reduce friction points between both parts. We'll do this with all the cutting planes we have. We could also create a template that's ready to be placed, saving us time, but since we already have the planes placed from our first exercise, we'll use them and practice some basic modeling in Blender. To make working with these cutting planes easier, remember to set the pivot to normals. This will ensure that you can move or rotate your selections in the same direction as the cutting planes. It's also advisable to extrude based on the polygon's normals. By following these simple steps, you'll have the perfect template for interlocking cuts. Once that's done, we can define the thickness of our cutting template. As in the first exercise, we will maintain a 0.1 mm tolerance, but since it's best not to blindly trust the default settings of 3D printers, we will manually adjust the positive piece to ensure a perfect fit. With our cutting tool ready, we will repeat the process using the Boolean modifier. The main difference now is that we have a tongue and groove system, keys and slots, that will allow us to align the pieces with total precision during assembly. Let's analyze this new method. It is undoubtedly much more accurate and, even if we make an initial mistake, it makes aligning the figure significantly easier. However, we must keep three key considerations in mind. First, the margin of error. I use a 0.1 mm tolerance, though you can try up to 0.2 mm depending on your printer. Second, scaling. You can vary the size of these keys, but always do so before applying the tolerance thickness. If you scale the entire template afterward, you will proportionally alter that 0.1 mm margin, causing the pieces to either be too loose or, conversely, fail to fit due to lack of space. And finally, the cut geometry. If you've noticed, so far our cuts are perpendicular to the model. This makes it difficult to hide them within clothing folds or organic areas, as the cutting templates are very geometric. But don't worry, we will solve this problem in our third exercise. Before moving on to the third and final part of this video, I'd like to ask you to leave a like if you're enjoying it. If you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel. If you have a friend who wants to start 3D printing figures but doesn't know how to split them correctly, please share this video with them. Thank you so much for your time. This will be the definitive option, as we'll be able to adapt our cutting template to any part of our 3D model. There are other variations of this step, such as masking the cutting areas with a brush and then, through a lot of pagan witchcraft, manipulating massive amounts of polygons to modify the mesh directly. In short, there are several ways to do this, but I'm going to show you my method, retaining full control over the cutting template without having to modify the character's mesh directly. This will even allow us to export the cutting templates to ZBrush in case Blender struggles with excessive mesh data when applying the Boolean modifier. First, we need to enable some options in Blender to perform a sort of manual retopology. we'll go to the snapping options, the magnet icon, and turn it on. We will also expand its menu and enable the Face Project option. With this simple setting, every time we move a polygon or an edge, it will automatically snap to the surface of our base model. We're going to create a plane. Scale it so it's easier to move, and then all that's left is to extrude the edges along the area we want to cut. Notice how we can now trace the contours of our model much more precisely. Once we have the complete loop, we select the edges where the cut will be created and then fill the loop. With this base ready, the hardest part is over. We'll delete the remaining polygons we won't be using and continue by performing an inset on the face. With the transform pivot set to normals, we'll move it up or down, as you prefer, to generate an initial key. This is fundamental when we want the parts to fit together perfectly. At this point, we could start creating the rest of the templates, since this simple step is enough. But we're going to add a second key to secure our pieces even better. We will scale to 0 along the Z-axis to perfectly flatten the face. As an important note, remember to apply the scale to normalize the dimensions. Then apply a new inset. We'll round out the new face using any of the regularizer, loop tools, algorithms we have, and extrude it along the normals. Scale it once more to reduce the friction area, and finally, we'll add volume to this cutting template using the Solidify modifier, with a thickness of 0.1 mm to 0.2 mm as needed, and then apply all modifiers. After that, I usually extrude the perimeter of our template to guarantee that no errors occur later on. And that's it. As you can see, it's a bit of work, but it's 100% worth it. If you want to dedicate yourself to 3D printing characters and figures, this step is fundamental. In many projects, we'll need to hide the seams very well, and this is one of the most precise ways to do it. Now, let's look at the rest of the process. Don't go anywhere, because there will be slight changes to each of the cutting templates that might be useful for a project you're working on. Let's analyze this version. As you can see, we can literally separate any part of our 3D model without the seams being obvious. The goal isn't to make unnecessary cuts. In fact, if SLS printing weren't so expensive, these types of exercises wouldn't even be necessary today. For instance, my model was printed in SLS just as a test, and it's not a cost-effective process at all unless you're doing high-volume commissions or working in a highly profitable niche. For this reason, it is essential to adapt our model to the printing system we'll be using, whether it's resin or filament. I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to leave a like and a comment. If you've made it this far, I want you to know that your comment could be the starting point for my next video. So write your own intro in the comments and we'll see how it looks in the next one. Best regards, and have a great day.
Na na